So there's a certain kind of Roblox game around these days that wasn't around when I used to play. You will usually see players waiting inside of a queue before the game starts. But more specifically, it's these types of games where the goal is to drive some kind of vehicle as far a distance as possible. This concept borrows from another game called The Long Drive, where you would fix up an old car and drive it as far as you could. It was a magnificent game in its own right. In a way, the distance you made was your score for that game as well. So there's all kinds of different versions too, like different themes. Just to name a few, we have Dead Roads, Dead Waters, Dead Shelter, Dead Planets, Dead Space, Dead Tales, Dead Spells. At the start of your journey, you will typically be given many tools, of which only the most intelligent and experienced users will understand how to utilize properly. Once you finally take the initial step to start your journey, every time you are seemingly pushed into a world of uncertainty, but also the mystery of not knowing what might come next. Werewolves are very common in these games, as if I couldn't escape these furry creatures in my day-to-day life, they haunt me in my games as well. But the first game we're looking at is called Dark Journey. Its theme is based on Middle Ages era, with like swords and muskets. We begin the game in the starting village, where you can buy starting supplies like food, which we can then give to our horse, which is the primary source of power pulling our wagon. I named him Humphrey, and he shall lead us to glory. I then realized I was given a starter weapon in this game, that of a large stick, and I tested it out on one of the local women. The townsfolk became very enraged by this, and started to pursue me. Their pigs and chickens were also trained to fend off attackers, which I wasn't, but I pleaded my innocence, but they got the best of me, and the player I was with was so enraged at what I had done that they just disappeared out of thin air, leaving all of their stuff behind. On my first try, I got a distance of 0. My second try would go far better. Although I would go this time alone, I first started off by selling a gold bar to get some starting cash, then buying a sword, then I talked to this Pied Piper guy playing a flute. There's just something about him, it just made me uneasy. Just the way that he whispered to me. The messed up flute playing getting louder and louder in my ears. It twisted my mind, and so I went on a rampage against the townsfolk. I'm taking over this town, this is my town. People are gonna die, animals are gonna die, this is my town, this is all my stuff. Oh, it's you again. As it got dark out, I loaded all the bodies on the wagon. These would be helpful later on. Nothing goes to waste in this game. So, then I finally departed, starting the real part of the game. And only very soon would I run into my old fuzzy enemy again. I stopped the wagon just to feed my horse, and then it came out from the shadows. The werewolves are back, and we're gonna be facing a lot more of them this time. So I said those bodies would come in handy before. That's because our magnificent steed has no quarrels about what he has fed. He is in no way a picky eater. This boy will eat an entire corpse and carry us for miles. He'll even eat rotten corpses. He'll eat zombies, he'll eat vampires, he'll even eat furries, which is pretty freaking cool. Speaking of which, there are several types of enemies that you will run into along the journey, like different kinds of monsters, which you can then sell to a priest and make a lot of money that way. Occasionally, you will come across a person waving on the side of the road. When you stop to speak to them, they will tell you that they need your help. So I followed them inside, and they said somebody was sick or something. So I went upstairs, I shot them, and took all their chairs and left. I figured it was the best medicine given the circumstance. After that, I just fought some zombies so that my horse could eat. He's a little freak, you know. But then I saw another Humphrey in the distance. I quickly slaughtered it for trying to compete with my Humphrey. Then, to assert dominance, my Humphrey ate it, because there is only one Humphrey. Oh, and by the way, when you stop for the waving person, sometimes they could end up ambushing you. So I would deem my first encounter to be self-defense. For all I know, it could have still been a trick. There are actually some pretty interesting and fun places to visit in this game. For example, you can visit this fort guarded by dozens of colonial zombies. I also encountered this castle which was full of werewolves and vampires that I had to clear out. Also in this game, you can come across a golden key item which will unlock certain doors guarding loot at some of the settlements you visit. I just thought this was a cool feature. After riding for a good distance, unlike the usual towns that you stop at periodically to trade and such, you'll come to a town with guards at the front gate. They want you to make a donation to enter. Now, I'm not really big on charity, so I just asked them very politely to let me in, and it seemingly worked because they just opened the gates anyways. Once I got inside, I didn't even really like it that much, and the townsfolk were angry with me for some reason, so I just decided to leave. I immediately went to the next city, where they were much nicer and offered me some armor to equip. I also fed my horse a smoked ham, attracting the attention of a nearby werewolf. I quickly dispensed of that foul creature and sold it on the black market. I would eventually reach the biggest city in the game again, but this time actually to explore. This city also hosted the Great Chapel, which if you went inside you could meet the High Priest. You could talk to him and he could heal you and offer other services. There's also a small Easter egg if you go outside next to the chapel. There you'll basically find a sword in the stone. It was really unexpected. Each time I tried to pull from it, it would basically just inflict damage. So I went to get healed by the priest and then went back. I did get the sword out, but I'm not sure it was particularly better than other weapons, but it is a nice addition. I also made my first companion in the game at this point. It was a delusional low-level priest, half asleep in a tent. He said he needed some celery to come out of a deep sleep, so I went to get him some celery and fed it to him. Once he was better, he immediately went off and annihilated every single witch in sight, wielding only the power of God and anime on his side. I was now pretty much done exploring the city, and so at last I departed for what would be the approaching end of my adventure. Nope, get out of here. Feeling the might equipped with my new sword and armor, I felt the calling for battle and approached a bandit camp off in the distance. They rode out to meet me with their cavalry, but they were too much for me. They had a Clash of Clans inspired unit with bombs over their heads. My game ended with 66,709 meters traveled. To be fair, I was pretty bored with riding the wagon this long anyways. I will say that there's probably a lot more to this game that I just didn't explore. The game is still in alpha, but I will probably play more of these kinds of games in the future. This game just stood out to me in particular because of its aesthetic and scenery. I recommend playing yourself, maybe with some friends, and try to beat my score. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one.